Hi, this is Paul from Unsung Angler, and today we are going to tie a faux bucktail surf candy. I've been using this fly quite a bit lately on the beach and had a lot of success with it, and what I really like about it is the durability of the faux bucktail. So stick around and learn how to tie this fly pattern. Okay, first thing we're going to do is run through the materials we're going to use. So basically, yes, we're going to use faux bucktail by Fish Skull. I bought this a while ago, never really found much use for it until I started using this pattern. I catch a lot of toothy fish down here in the Gulf Coast, and it's really, really durable. You know, I tie like EP fiber minnows, and I bet Spanish mackerel, you catch one fish, fly's gone. So this has been great for toothy fish. We're gonna put some flash on it, so some pearl Flashabou. The body will be, we'll put a slight body on it. We're gonna do some flat diamond braid. We're gonna put some 1/4-inch eyes on it, and I'll be tying it with GSP 100 thread because I'm lazy, and this is pretty much what I use for all my bigger flies. And we'll be tying it on a Daiichi 2546 saltwater hook in size 4. So I think that's it. So let's go ahead and get started. I already got the hook in the vise. We will apply a base of thread. Once I get to the bend of the hook, I will tie in my diamond braid. So once we have that tied in, we'll wrap that up the shank of the hook to the eye. This will just give it a little bit of a flash in the underbody. Once we get to the hook eye, we'll tie that off. A few wraps to secure it. Here's a tip when you're trimming material. Don't just come in and snip it because you could cut your thread, which is right there. Put your index finger and drape the thread across the back of it, and then you can pinch your material with your thumb and index finger and cut right down on it and snip it off, and you don't cut your thread. A couple wraps to secure that. So step one is we're going to take our white faux bucktail, and we're going to pinch about half the diameter of a pencil we're going to take off. This does have really nice tapered tips on it, so it won't bulk up terrible. You don't want to go too much with this either because it doesn't stay on the hook real well. So we'll line this up. I think I grabbed a little too much. That's looking a little too thick. So if you think you grab too much, don't be afraid, just pull it right off. So to size this, we're going to go 1 hook shank length behind the bend of the hook. So that we'll put it right about there. And we'll trim it right there like that. So when I trim this, I just trim it straight, as straight as you can get it. Now this is an interesting material. It does not compress or flex or anything. So I'm going to throw 4 wraps on this and then apply light pressure to it, a few more wraps, and then I'm going to try to keep it on top of the hook for now. Rotate it, make sure that and then after I get that tied on there, I'm gonna try to get it to roll around the top half of the hook. It shouldn't go too much because we have that pearl braid underbody on it, so it should keep it where it's at. I want to keep this fly as thin and narrow as I could. So now before I go ahead and wrap a ton of wraps on this to hold it down, because this doesn't compress like real bucktail will. So if I grab this, I could tighten that as tight as I want. If I grab this and pull it, the fibers are going to pop right out. So what I do is I'll put some Zap-A-Gap on to hold it in place. And I will put a pretty decent amount. I'll go right around the whole body. Okay. And then once I have that glob on there, I'll wrap right over the super glue. If you see a drop coming out the bottom like I have, I'll take a little rag and I'll just absorb that right in like that. There we go. Okay. Next will be our crystal flash. I get about a half dozen. I don't get too crazy with it. And take a half dozen, fold them in the middle, and drop those right on top of the white. There we go. And just cut them even with the white fibers. Okay. Starting to look fishy, like a fly. So next we take our Chartreuse Faux Bucktail. We're going to pull off about half of what we used for the belly. Any stray fibers, pull them out. So we're going to tie this in just slightly longer than the white. So we'll get that measured up. Cut it straight. We're going to tie that in right on top of our white. Again, a few good loose wraps to hold it in place. Look down from above if you need to manipulate it. Now's when you do it. So there we go. Okay. And give that a few wraps, and we're gonna, again, before we get too many wraps on it, we want this Zap-A-Gap. We're gonna put another glob on there. We want that to soak down into the fibers of that faux bucktail. That's what's gonna keep this a durable fly. Now I have quite a bit of a gap in front of the faux bucktail in the eye. Don't really worry about that. We're going to finish this with epoxy. So a few more wraps just to build up ahead, and then I'll throw a quick whip finish in the front. 2, 3, and trim that. Okay. Again, we're trying to do a thin profile bait fish, small. All right, so while that Zap-A-Gap is tacky, I'm gonna go ahead and put my eyes on. I hate putting eyes on. I like having eyes on flies, I just hate putting them on. They're always a pain in the butt, I think. I'll get that on there and kind of position it with my bodkin, and then hold it in place for a second. Nice. And do the same on the other side. Make sure they're both lined up. That's looking pretty good. So then what I do, next step, take some UV epoxy, and I'll send a little drop down in there. Hit it with the light. Now those eyes should be fairly secure, so we don't have to worry about knocking them off. I never have luck super gluing them. I tried gel super glue. I tried it all. This method seems to work good for me. Another drop in the bottom. Make sure any air bubbles pop out. Zap it. Okay, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this UV Cure epoxy, and then I have a little thicker one, and I'm going to go around the whole fly down to almost the bend of the hook, and I'm going to hold my hair in place because I want to keep this nice and narrow. This is a small profile fly. So we'll speed this up, and I'm going to go through this process now. Okay, at this point it's looking pretty good. You want to build that nice epoxy head up on there. And that's it. It's a pretty simple fly. I think the epoxy takes probably the longest part to get a nice head formed. But that's it. That's a faux bucktail surf candy. So there we have it, a faux bucktail surf candy. I really appreciate you taking time to watch my video, and I hope you learned how to tie a new fly. I'll put a full list of the materials in the description below. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and click that subscribe button and follow us along on our journey. Thanks again for watching, everyone.